Is this enough to make it worth it? Many think the reward system leaves a lot to be desired, but there are a few treasures that need to be pointed out. Bandidos, today we're gonna dive headfirst into the Division 2's latest game mode, The Descent. There's been a lot of confusion around the reward system, but fear not, because we're about to unravel the mysteries and discuss whether the juice is worth the squeeze.
Ready? Okay. Shh.
So let's cut to the chase. A lot of you have been asking about the rewards in The Descent, and boy, I get it. It's been confusing for many of us, but fear not, after this video, you'll get the gist and learn how to integrate this game mode into your looting strategy. Let's start with the basics, shall we? In The Descent, you'll earn XP. It comes out to roughly 5 shade levels per hour, and XP earned is diverted to your main character outside of the game mode. Now let's talk about the stars of the show, the loot caches. From loop 1 to 29, you'll be rewarded with proficiency caches every time you complete a loop. It's like a loop pinata bursting with random gear goodies. And guess what? Every time you level up from the XP, you're also earning proficiency caches. So yeah, you'll have a stash full of these babies in no time. And all of those loot caches, they'll be diverted straight to your backpack when you exit the game mode. But beware, it can overflow like a waterfall. So I highly recommend starting the game mode at the castle to easily access your stash if you need to unload some goodies when it all comes crashing down at the end. There's more. Say hello to the new kid on the block, the simulation caches. These are exclusive to The Descent, and they're like the fancy VIP version of the proficiency caches. They come with higher quality gear and a greater chance of topped off stats. And get this, they kick in as early as loop 4. That's double loot action, baby. I've saved a bunch of these and we'll be opening them throughout this video so you can see what they contain and the quality. These caches are here to compensate for the lack of farming opportunities in the game mode, so they're super important for your character's build progression. And let's not forget about the crafting material caches, people. Starting from loop 7, you'll be earning weapon gear, recalibration, and crafting material caches. These are more important than the Descent game mode reward system emphasizes. In a regular game mode outside of Descent, whether you're playing a mission or clearing the open world activities, you don't just get gear drops as loot, but you also get materials for completing activities, and you get materials from looting the environment as well. Materials are extremely important to the progression of your character, and playing game modes that don't dish out enough of it will cost you valuable, hard-earned watch points later when you have to resort to purchasing these common resources. So don't underestimate the value of these caches. Although they don't feel exciting, and they're not, they're a necessary item, especially when you invest hours into this game mode. These caches are like the lifeline for your character's progression. Note, you also get resources from the simulation and proficiency caches when you deconstruct unwanted items. This will contribute to a degree also. But here's where the loot party begins. The exotic caches. They're the crown jewels of The Descent. And guess what? You've got not one, but 2 ways to get your hands on these precious babies. First up, we've got the weekly project, giving you a chance to earn the exotic cache every single week. And then we've got the Nemesis. Defeat this Green Goblin and you're guaranteed an exotic cache. As you get proficient in the game mode, beating the Nemesis between 30 to 45 minutes is a real possibility. And you know what's even better? You can farm the Nemesis for more of these caches over and over. That's more valuable to character progression than ever, thanks to the expertise system that eats exotic components for a living. There's an additional chance to get exotic caches at loop 19 and guaranteed opportunities in later loops starting at 26. But that's so far out there, I feel ridiculous even mentioning it. But hold on to your seats, because we've saved the best for last. Hey Bandidos, the community we have built together wouldn't have been possible without you. So as a thank you for supporting my channel and the community, I'm bringing you the hookup on member perks, including even more Division 2 content and the celebrated gaming music playlists. If you're not part of Tux's Players Club, click the join button below. The reconstructed caches. Don't be fooled by the name. These babies are worth their weight in gold. With a 15% chance of dropping gear sets and named items, they're like a treasure trove of loot goodness. My fellow treasure hunters, they also guarantee a named blueprint. Whoa, now that's the real deal right there. These caches caches are rare, but guess what? The Nemesis gives you a 12% chance to earn one of these golden goose eggs. Otherwise, you won't see these drop before loop 31, which is absolutely nuts, by the way. Named item blueprints are a big deal because these also include named items that exclusively drop in the Dark Zone, otherwise from named item caches. Things like the Emperor's Guard knee pads, the Death Grips, the Hollow Man mask, and more. Once you collect the most valuable blueprints for creating a diverse set of builds, you can stop purchasing named item caches with the red stars you farm from global events or requisition currency from the countdown vendor. Instead, you could divert your currency to purchase the exotic caches to feed the exotic component goblin of the expertise system. Isn't that great? If you break everything down, all the rewards we just listed, aside from the proficiency caches, you get a guaranteed cache drop toggling between simulation caches and crafting caches every 3 loops starting at loop 4. So loop 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, and 19 will guarantee a cache drop. There's some non-guaranteed drops as well, but not really worth mentioning. All right, here's the deal. Rewards after loop 19, the game mode holds out on rewards. There's no real loot action happening after that. So what's the real value in surpassing loop 19, which by the way, takes a very long time? So the best rewards from the system comes from beating the Nemesis, hands down. You get your exotic and hopefully the reconstructed cache with a desired named blueprint. After that, every loop you achieve becomes less and less rewarding. That seems downright backwards to me. We need greater rewards for higher completions. In fact, it's so rare and requires so much time to get to those higher loops, the reward should be just as ridiculous. I mean, 10 times what we get in the first 20 loops. I don't think it would be too out of sight to give us an exotic cache at every loop beyond loop 20. It's damn hard up there. For reconstructed caches, we need to see these more frequently, at least 2 times between loop 7 and loop 20. Let's break it down. If the average player goes in just to beat the Nemesis once per week, taking the shortest path in 6 loops completed in about an hour, including the weekly project, they can count on 5 shade levels, 12 proficiency caches, 1 simulation cache, 2 exotic caches, and 1 crafting cache of sorts, and the 12% chance at receiving a reconstructed cache. If you boil everything down, you're basically getting a bunch of things being crushed into basic materials. Sure, we get the occasional keeper, but after opening a ton of simulation caches, there must have been 30 or so, I wouldn't put a wager on them. I've been playing a while, so more of these might be keepers for you, but in the grand scheme of things, the problem with these caches is the lack of targeted loot. In the open world or missions, we can complete activities based on the type of loot in that activity. Regardless of quality, simulation rewards are just too random. Same goes with proficiency caches. That means what we can count on is just a bunch of basic materials. Is this enough? How many hours in the game mode does a player have to invest before they realize the juice is just not worth the squeeze, despite how fun this game mode can be? There needs to be more done with the NSA tech to fill in the gaps on loot and targeted loot farming. NSA tech is currently limited to purchasing character stacks that provide a boost when you enter the game mode. It's pretty cool. However, the excitement of spending those credits quickly fades as the options become consumed. The devs must expand the spend possibilities here by allowing the player to use hard-earned NSA tech to purchase named item caches, exotic caches, and reconstructed caches, just like the countdown vendor offers. This would inject a fresh sense of purpose into Descent, tying it directly to the player's overall endgame strategy and the eternal quest for the perfect build we all subscribe to, whether we know it or not. We're all deeply invested in our builds, and it's crucial for the game mode to contribute meaningfully to that objective. So let's make our voices heard, shall we? What do you think about the reward system? Do the simulation caches feel meaningful? What would you do to make the reward system more desirable? Hit the like button, comment below, and let's share our feedback with the developers to get juicier rewards, more excitement, and a Descent game mode that we will all love to explore. Oh, by the way, this is the best build for the overly caffeinated gamer. Try it next.
Follow me.